So taking a short look into Facebook, and now if we think about it, myself, Kat, the trade team, friends, family, everybody uses Facebook as a way to connect with each other. But I think what we don't always realise is that we're constantly being advertised to on this platform, and that's because it's not as obvious as what we think it is, and it's not as obvious as other forms of methods of advertising, because social media companies' jobs is to keep you on screen and keep you engaged and keep you scrolling. So to make sure your business is gaining as much potential as possible, you really need to understand the platform so that you can learn how to get potential customers to stop scrolling and to look at your business. So as we've touched on before, these algorithms, everyone's been asking us about them since we did our Boost My Social training, and we've spoke to our social media team a lot about this, and the fact is that they've changed a lot over time. So we're going to give you what we know right now. So the algorithms, the way that they work is they decide which posts people see every time that they check the news feed and what order that the posts show up in. So it's built to predict which post is most valuable and meaningful to an individual. So instead of showing every single Facebook post in a chronological order, the algorithm evaluates the post, it scores it, and then arranges it in interest for each individual user. So to gain a more organic reach, the algorithm will score your post better if the content is what people want to engage with. So as I'm sure you can imagine, there are a lot of pages out there that people follow. I know I follow a lot, and it's really important that your content cuts through the clutter and doesn't become the clutter. And although there's no clear or correct answer to the Facebook algorithm, Facebook have outlined some key factors to give you an insight into how the posts are scored. So Facebook ranks content, number one, based on relationships. So is that post from a person, a business, a news source, or a public figure that the user engages with often? Has the user messaged them before? Have they been tagged before? Have they engaged with them, or do they already follow them? Then the content type. So what kind of media is in that post, and which type of media does the user interact with the most? So for me, I think it would probably be videos. So does the user look at videos most? Do they like still photos and images, or are they more interested in links? Popularity. So how are people already currently reacting to that post, especially if it's users' friends? So if the trade team all love and jump onto a post, the chances are I'm going to see it. And if they're sharing in it, commenting it, but if they're ignoring it, the chances are I won't see it. Recency. How new is the post? The newer the post, the higher it's placed in the news feed. So all of these 4 topics being considered, every time you make a post, this is what Facebook's thinking about. So if you're posting willy-nilly or posting just way too much content, it's just not going to make the cut. And that's why it's important to plan. So you have chance then to think about how that post is going to perform. So now looking at Facebook pages, so your actual page, your profile picture is one of the first things that Facebook users will notice about your business on social media. Now, if you have a think about it, how many thousands of social media profiles have we all seen when we're scrolling through day to day, just thousands of images. But every time somebody sees a profile picture, and whether you mean to or not, you form an impression, you make a judgment in a split second, you decide whether that profile picture is likable, trustworthy or not. So making your business profile picture perfect, although it's a one-time action, it'll have a big impact. So it's important to keep in mind as well that Facebook will actually crop it into a circle. So you can see on the Aldi example here, so make sure you leave enough space so that you're happy with the way that it looks once it's been cropped into that circle. Then touching on the About section, the About section actually shows up in the search results under your brand name. As you can see there with Aldi, your About section can really impact the way that you show up in the search results when somebody searches holidays, travel, whatever it might be. And that'll give you the chance to rank well in Facebook's organic search engine. So you need to make sure that what you're saying in this About section is really related to your business. So all social media bio sections are important, and Kat touched on them earlier with Instagram, but I think we could all agree that Facebook would probably take the top spot when it comes to the bio, simply because there's plenty of room within that section to share really valuable information. So it's really important that you make it count. Facebook is often a first place that a customer will go to get information about a business. And I know that's something that I do all the time. So having all of this information filled out is really important. The About section needs to answer your followers' main questions, which in the long run is going to save you time and energy as well. If your page doesn't have the relevant and helpful information that a user's looking for, there's a good chance that they're going to simply leave the page. So make sure you're checking in on this every month or so, so that it always is reflecting your business in the best way that it can. Next up, we just wanted to touch on handles because we got asked a few questions about this. So a social media handle, what is it? It's a username, pretty much is the best way to describe it. It's got the @ symbol at the start, just like the one you can see we've circled on screen there. Now, social media handles are a really important step of online marketing because it helps people to find you more easily, and it also makes your page look more professional. So have a look. If you haven't got one set up on Facebook, you can easily set it up. Choose something short, sweet, that's relevant to your business and it's easy to remember. And if you've got an Instagram page too, it's good to make them consistent so that they match each other or they're somewhere near you. And it's great as well when you're doing any other forms of marketing, because then you can add your Facebook handle on. It's another touch point to get your customer in contact with you. So thinking about content, as we've said before, it's great to have a really good mix of content. So like we've said as well, planning ahead is one of the key things to do when it comes to social media. And a good place to start with trying to get some ideas and inspiration for your own content is by having a look at what other businesses are doing and see what's helping them gain interaction. So we've picked out just a few examples on screen. As you can see, there's a mix of content across these brands, and what they're doing is they're using different topics and interests to their advantage. So if we take Pretty Little Thing first, which is a clothing brand, what they're posting there is an absolutely gorgeous image of Santorini, absolutely nothing to do with their branding. But what they do know is that their customers will love that, and they absolutely have, because they've got a ridiculous amount of likes, comments and shares on it. So thinking about using the algorithm to their advantage. Next, we've got Boots. So they've gone with an interactive post. So the purpose of that post is getting customers to comment below so that the next time they post, the chances are that customer's going to see it again. We've got Cafe Mambo, and they've gone with a humanized image, which is really eye-catching, but also a quote, and people love a good quote on Facebook. So again, trying to encourage people to like the post so that they'll see Cafe Mambo more. We've got Currys and PC World there showing brand partnership with a really well-known, recognisable brand. So something that people want to look at and engage with. Aldi, we've got a price there. So beautiful post, because what they're doing is they're showing the product. It's a short video, but they're not showing everything about it, not giving them all the ins and outs, the sizes and everything to do with that product. What they're doing is engaging with the customer with a short video and a nice short caption as to when and how they can buy it. And then last but not least, we've got In The Style, which again is a clothing brand. And what they've done is they've grabbed some user-generated content. So this is where a customer has gone on Twitter, posted a tweet about holidays, which is obviously something that everyone loves to talk about. And it's gained them further interaction on their page. So the Facebook algorithms, what they do is they have a lot of information. They know when you stop to look at something, whether you engage with it or not, whether you like it, comment, share it, they know that you've stopped and looked at it and how long for, believe it or not. But they also know when you've commented on it, when you've liked it, and what they do with that information is they build it into your personal algorithm. And what these brands are all doing is playing that to their advantage. So just to quickly touch back on stories, because Facebook does also have its own section for stories. It's very similar to the way that Kat described. Content which is shared to stories appears at the top of Facebook's newsfeed, as you can see on screen. And one great tip for this is when you're using Business Suite, you can actually connect your Instagram and Facebook account together, and you can share the same story to both platforms. Now, one thing with stories is that they're not as impacted by the algorithm. So your content has more chance of being seen. So you can post a little bit more on your stories than what you would maybe on your news feed because it doesn't come across as spammy. Looking at text, we know that visual components are really important, but the text is just as important that goes with it, and it should tie in with your visual so that they complement each other. So it's no good having an image and the words just not relating to it. So this is an example. If you were to pop on an interactive, engaging post, the main aim there is for you to get further reach, encouraging an action from the user. So whether you want them to like it, you want them to comment and share it. But by having a text that isn't related to the image, it's confusing for the followers. It's not encouraging them to take a further action, and it's made the text irrelevant to the image itself. Now, if you head on over to Facebook for Business, which will show you how you can access that in a second, there's a lot of research that's gone on behind the scenes looking at the way that posts perform based on the way that they look. And Facebook would recommend that you keep text short, clear and concise in order to get your message across effectively. And remember, as we've mentioned before, the optimum amount of characters is actually 80. So the best thing to do here is decide on one thing that you want people to know and say that. Other things to think about when you're using your text is include a time frame. Use words like today, now, or this week, because that creates a sense of urgency. Use a call to action, so call us now or comment below, but don't be asking the customers to do too much because as we've seen on the previous slide, you need to focus their attention on exactly what you want them to do. And then last one, on the internet, using uppercase letters is shorthand for shouting. So businesses tend to avoid capital letters because it can come across in not quite the way that you want your customer to read it. So do have a think about when you're typing up them posts, how it's going to be perceived by your customer. And then we have interact and reply. So using your Facebook page to the full extent that you can. It's really important that you prioritise building a connection with each individual person that engages with your page. Like we said, the algorithm prioritises posts from pages where users have interacted with that page. Your audience's time is incredibly valuable, and taking the time to respond to them shows that you care. If a person has taken time out of their day to talk to your brand, don't waste that opportunity. Make them feel heard, make them smile, or inspire them to tell their friends. It's a really good opportunity. And brands should always be willing to talk back to the followers. You can see many examples of this on lots of platforms with brands that you'll see on Facebook. And then touching back on insights, we know a lot of you do check in on your insights simply because it's one of the biggest factors to trying to make sure that your platform is successful. It's all about experimenting and learning from the stats that you've got. So make sure you do keep track and you're making note of what has worked and what hasn't. What we would recommend is that you do set a date aside, and the same way that you review your sales in that week, set some time aside to have a look at these insights so that you can really progress your platforms. And then the same as Instagram, Facebook does have its own website for business. Absolutely brilliant website, loads of hints and tips on there. And they also have a Facebook page that you can like, and they share lots of amazing information. Both Instagram and Facebook do have specific things for travel as well. So like Kat said earlier, me and Kat could probably talk about social media all day long, but I'm sure you don't want to hear us blabbing on all the time. So go and have a little bit of research yourself and see what's out there for free that you can use